right, good morning everybody. Very great morning to you actually, because we're getting ready to do the Fire in the Booth lyric breakdown. This is a project I've been working on for a while. I've been taking my time trying to do the deep dive. I've got my Ren's rabbit hole shirt on. I'm excited to have some merch. Excited to get on this project. Welcome back to Rockin the Boat Reactions. I'm Gretchen. Again, this is going to be the Fire in the Booth deep dive lyric breakdown, not just a reaction video. Because I've done the deep dive into the lyrics, I've seen this video a few times, gone through the lyrics quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is play the full live performance that he did mid-March of this year at Deadwax for the Sick Boy Live. I'm going to show that in its entirety here at the beginning. And then after that, then we're going to dive into these lyrics and break them down. And then we'll start piecemealing. After I do the breakdown, then we'll show the clip again. And hopefully when we see it again, then we'll have picked up something new that maybe we didn't pick up before. And with this project, one of the first things that jumped out to me is that he had this bright fire red hair for this concert that he did. And I love that, because what it made me think of is, I'm a pretty big Marvel fan, what it made me think of was a reality stone. And just the fact that the Fire in the Booth performance itself with charliesloth was amazing. And then this live performance that he did at Deadwax was equally amazing, but kind of his own production. So I appreciated it even more because of that. But like, he's just bending our reality with this. This is the fire red hair, so appropriate. And by the way, I'm going to do something a little different with this video. I'm going to pass judgment on Ren with this project. We're going to fully judge him. We're going to sentence him. And I'm already, as it is, I'm a medical doctor, as some of you may know, but I'm Khaleesi today, and I am dubbing myself, I'm granting myself a JD degree as well. So I'm going to be the judge, I'm going to be the jury, I'm going to read the sentence, and I'm going to be the executioner of the sentence, all of it. I'm the whole thing. So I'm full on Khaleesi today, and just dubbing myself all these different titles. One other thing I want to mention before we started on this is, in doing this breakdown, it's clear to me that this is just one big love letter to all of the things that are important in Ren's life. So whether that be all things Britain, independent artists, the things that kept him going when he was really ill and not sure if he was even going to see the next day. So whether that was movies or video games, literature, just all kinds of things that's within these lyrics. And you can really get to appreciate the things that are meaningful to him. And it, like I said, it's just a big love letter. And at the end, even the last of the lyrics say, I give it as a gift, it was mine and it's yours now. Yeah, I give it as a gift, it was mine, it's yours now. And so, I mean, he's just poured his whole everything into this project. And so I just appreciate it so much. And hopefully my breakdown of the lyrics does it some justice. And if you disagree at any point, please put in the comments what you think is what I've missed, or if my interpretation is just off, or if you have something different, please post that. All right, let's get into the full entire performance, start to finish, and then after that we'll get into some breakdown. So let's go.
So a couple of weeks ago I got hit up by a platform that you guys might know called Fire in the Booth by Mr. charliesloth.
Look at that hair.
So it came through, it went pretty fucking well. That should be out very soon. But I thought I'd perform that for you guys tonight. Eduardo, if we can have that track, that'll be brilliant.
Eduardo. Let's go, Eduardo.
On my search for brighter days, skies are always grey in places we come from. Yeah. Come what will, come what may, I found the strength to face the things that I run from. Yeah. It was the other day, I was back with the lads, fighting the booth, hit me up on the Instagram, opened DM, it said, Ren, come and bring the gang, so we came through. Wait, this is true, Charlie hit me up, he said he want me in the booth, the only time I'm in the booth is doing Charlie in the loo. I hit the homie back and I said, how can I refuse, now it's sloth, sick boy sounded so smooth with the boom bap shit, monkey to gorilla, King Kong thunder, drop like Jay Dilla, and the throat gets slit, Freddy cut a scissor, click, click, empty the clip, reload trigger, boom, I fell out of the womb, riding broomstick broom, so a snitch gets gripped like the Quidditch snitch do. It was sick, boy, sicker than who? Sourdough, Dali, paint a fire in that. A loose screw with a few million views. Paying who's who, blood it's me cause it's not you. Does it move you from the knee down to your shoe? Like Kung Fu, Chun-Li, Big Sonic Boom. A combo Abby you can shoot Hadouken like Ryu and Ken. M. by San, Fa Blanca, blank stand. Akuma with the pen, force of Gukan. Is it red, is it ren, does it bang like Sken? When adrenaline ends, will the men defend the ends? Extend revenge, cleanse the soul, repent. Lord forgive my sin, hell and heaven sent. World, top of the world, wide wide world. Over the top I drop, I rockin', boppin', dropping hot since birth. Reniverse, flipping the hearse, it's the never, just having the worst. Stop doing double time shit, let me spit. It's the tale of the amazing Spider Ran. I'm an 8-bar, 8-arm octagon. Smoking eighth with my mate when it's 8 PM. Yeah, I ate like an ape, I'm an alien. Flip the 8 on this side like infinity stone. I'm finna be the baddest rapper anonymity, no. Affinity for masculinity, still best as alone. Smoke a hard, fancy Rocky, flip, okay, it's KO. If you know, you know, I got soldier flow. That's a .50, that's a sniper scope. Take the sniper scope, point it at 50. When the body decays like it's an isotope. With a 10-year half-life, you decay. So in 10 years time, you'll be half your weight. That's a 10-year chance, you'll have half a brain. Let me speed that up, let me Kurt Cobain. Brrr. Yeah. Swing Warhammer like I'm Thor or Banner. I'm a Mordor Handyman, body bag and tagger man. Rearrange a man's face, fuck's sake, anagram. Put it back together like a game of Scrabble and nothing. Outside, everything underhand. Underneath the table, no label, that's contraband. Babel of Babel, it confuses my guy. So ambitious, was that part of God's plan? I am frightening like Attack on the Titan. Fighting Titan, Levi Ackerman. Batman down when Bruce met Superman. Jeez, man got steez, man got bars and the bars make cheese. Man gets fees for a feature, please. Man's best bars at the STDs. Man makes peas, frozen greens. Man's bar like a field of sheep. Got more bars than Ibiza Street. Man's bar sweeter than Cadbury's. Jeez. Fresh life, flesh on cold ice. Cess and throw dice, this rest like Preston Smith West. Side of your head, chamber jewel lead. One move and you're dead. Grip, then it's click and I clack it. Can it swim, mate? Is your body aquatic? Keep it and frank with a shank in the attic. Man gets spanked with a flashbang banging. Orangutan, I'm manga fan, I'm manic. Hero, catch a hero up the planet. Text to Washima, come Kyoko. Come to reload, futures look cold. Break modes, calibrate soul, caliber roll. Your commits you strike, iron is cold. Iron is hot, I connect the dots, disconnect your spine, reconnect. Duplo, Lego, Kinect, I break. Attack the block, a toxic shockwave. We block drops like a hot rock blam. Pass to the left to your right hand, men like headshot, faded. I strip your bitch naked. Sick boys, wasted. Rizzler, purple, Haitian. Condom, large size. Finger your muffin, 5 guys. Calm down, play nice. Don't you pussy, sit right there in the crosshair, die in the cross like a Jesus. There, with a hole in his head. Hands make money when I need the bread. Man gets hungry so I feast him blood. Can I get a 3.5 under? Red Dead Redemption, I fled dimensions. My head was tense and I bled for vengeance. But introspection brought new direction. A reconception of rhyme selection. Flick a cigarette already lit up the next one. Drive by guys like I'm that next one. One how they wonder how he flows soda. Slow down words. Really come harder, really come faster. Just a Welsh boy sipping on a can of lager. Come from the Celtic, knights in armour. Come from the valleys where we all go. Pull the shankar, the thunder so sharp. Above the pen master, Tony Stark smart. Iron heart artery, dastardly smarter than Harvard degree. See me, MC squared. Wanna follow me, wanna be, never wanna be. Honor me, I'm my monetary prodigy, your biology, baby. Raised on a diet full of Wu-Tang and shady. Dizzy and some Wizzy and some Pack and some Jay-Z. 50 and some Missy and some K-Dot tasty. Don't forget the plan B, that's what made me. Chop it up, them up it up like it's a crazy. Knocking off a mullet of the big room, baby. Bang, bang, bang. Bangers on a daily, fuck all that singing shit. Really come hard, really come fast. Just a Welsh boy sipping on a can of lager. Come from the Celt, nights in arm. Come from the valleys where we all go hard. Looking on this cliff, singing, come around pit. Leave you with this, cause I'm getting pretty bored now. I live just to feel the music hit. I give it as a gift, it was mine, it's yours. Smoking on this cliff, singing, come around pit. Leave you with this, cause I'm getting pretty bored now. I live just to feel the music hit. I give it as a gift, it was mine, it is yours now. Hey. Bring it back. Bye. Come on.
All right. I think my headphones might be dying.
Oh yeah, I tell you. That song's hard to do when you're standing still in fire in the booth, let alone fucking jump around on stage. Woo!
All right, very good. I'm gonna go back and I might have to switch out my headphones. A little bit more. Come on. Okay, I think that's perfect. 33:45. All right. Sorry, gotta switch out my headphones. Those were crackling and like acting like they're gonna die. So let's see if I can get these working here in a minute. All right. In the meantime, plug these in, get them charging. Okay. All right, so first things first, when it comes to this video, I feel like it's not getting enough views. Can we please get REN some love on, it has maybe, I think, 240,000 views or something. It's a 45-minute concert. It was live done at Deadwax, and it's on his REN Makes Music on YouTube. Please go and watch that. It's the full Sick Boy live concert. So he did it in front of a small group. And keep in mind that he did this in the midst of being sick. He was about to go to Mexico for some treatment, or he had just, I think actually when this actually aired, he was in Mexico getting treatments, because he was on a live chat at the time of the premiere. And so he was actually not in his best health during this concert. So just let's give him some more love. Let's go, guys. Let's give him some love. He worked hard for that. All right. So let's get into this breakdown. And first of all, there's so much, it's so dense in content that I'm going to try to make this fast, but it's just going to, it might take a while. So, but I'm going to try to go as fast as I can and still make sense. What I did was I got these lyrics off of genius.com. So if you go to genius.com, hopefully you can follow along with the lyrics. And what I did was I just took those genius.com lyrics and just did the line numbers. I just numbered all the lines so that I could kind of keep track of it myself. All right, so the very first, right off the bat, he starts talking about the in search for brighter days, and skies are always gray in places we come from. So obviously, I feel like that's a double meaning right off the bat. We have brighter days and skies are gray, places we come from. He's from Wales, it's rainy. So you have the weather situation with it being cloudy and rainy, but then also you have his health situation. And his history is not exactly a bright and cheery health history. He's had a very long, complicated row when it comes to his health and finding a diagnosis and getting treated. And so now he's finally seeing some brighter days, and now he is able to turn what was a gray, dark time into something bright and positive, and a message that he can deliver to us that gives us hope. Whenever he says the come what will, come what may, that is actually a line out of Macbeth, which is written by William Shakespeare, who's an English playwright. And again, this is keeping in mind that there's a few themes along the way anything United Kingdom or Britain, independent artists, shout outs, and just the things in general that kept him sustained during his growing up days. So come what may is actually a phrase that basically it says, I'm putting myself out there, come what will, come what may, you know, this I'm bearing myself, and just, it is what it is, the type of a interpretation. And so he himself found a way to face those things that he ran from, like he literally said, by using his lyrics and his music to express the darker times that he went through. And he's doing it fearlessly. Like, he's fearless in his art, that people will call him either sadistic or masochistic or whatever because of the images that he puts into his artwork. But that's his freedom to do that. And if that's, he just does it without fear of repercussions. And I love that about him. And it's nice that he's an independent artist and can do that. So, the next thing I want to talk about, the May of 2023 interview that he did with Justin Hawkins. I'm going to refer to that a few times during this breakdown, because he mentions in that interview that he wants to do a project like a film or something, and he thought the platform to do that for him would be Netflix, because they would be a little more lenient with the content. But he had mentioned that he wanted to do either something like an anime, but he wanted to be in it himself. He wanted to be a character and be like a like he would be like an evil wizard, I think is what he even mentioned in the interview. So when he says, specifically when he says that the fire in the booth popped up on my Instagram, and he's, so we came through, wait, this is true. And the way he does it in the fire in the booth performance as well as in here, and he kind of does the wait, this is true. I feel like he does that with emphasis. And so I looked into that, and there is actually, in the programming world, when it comes to programming animation, that there is a command that is wait until a variable is true. And so I'm wondering if this is like his little subtle way of just expressing interest in creating his own anime type project and putting out in the universe. And just that subtle little thing, it's just him saying, wait, this is true. And again, it's a command that makes something come true, if you will. And then when he mentions the Charlie DM'd the invite, and now he's doing, he did the Charlie and the Lou. So obviously that's the charliesloth, fire in the booth, so the booth and the Lou. But then not only that, but the Charlie is slang for cocaine, so he could be talking about doing cocaine in the bathroom, or it could be Charlie as a girl or a boy's name, you're doing Charlie again in the Lou. And the other thing is, let's harken back to the five guys that he mentions, and I can't help but think that those five guys has a bigger meaning, and I think of five Charlies that are related to Britain. And I've got the charliesloth, I've got the top dog, King Charles, then there's Charles Darwin, charliesloth, Charlie Chaplin, and Charles Dance, who was on Game of Thrones, who played Tywin Lannister. But let's stop for a second and go to Charles Darwin, because the reason I throw in Charles Darwin is he is British, and he is the developer, if you will, of the theory of evolution by natural selection. And the one thing about Charles Darwin, not only the fact that he's British, but throughout this performance, Ren kind of focuses in on his eyes in a few times. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to use this performance, is because this is his production. It's his vision of how he wanted to display this performance. And I feel like there's some little hints and meanings in there. And one of them being this Charles Darwin. And the reason I say that is because if you aren't familiar, Darwin, he was the developer of the theory of evolution. However, he could not explain the eyeball. And the eyes, from an evolutionary standpoint, didn't make sense to him. So that was the one thing that kind of drove him crazy. So not that he said that it was a creationist thing, but he couldn't explain the function and the the way that the eyeball came about from from an evolutionary standpoint. And I feel like that's key in some of the places in this performance. Now let's go on to, now we start getting into like hip hop and independent artists, shout outs and all of that. And this gets really fun. So if you're going to follow along, if you're on the lyrics, I'm on line 13, there's a boom bap. So he says, with the boom bap shit, monkey to gorilla, the King Kong thunder, drums like J Dilla. So there's actually a boom bap beat that's called King Kong, and it's produced by Plan P, as well as other people who've produced this King Kong beat. And then the monkey and gorilla can also refer to the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef, but also Glorilla and Drake had hooked up, so there's that connection. But you have a band or a group, King Kong Gotcha. It could actually just be one artist. I'm actually not sure. But King Kong Gotcha has a song called Thunder and Lightning. And I think that's an interesting title to throw in there, because lightning is actually what gave King Kong his original power. And there's a King Kong the rapper who's a Jamaican DJ and singer. And the fact that King Kong was originally inspired by a painting of a large gorilla carrying a woman, and that painting was done by Willis O'Brien. Willis O'Brien is credited with the stop motion animation for King Kong. And so again, you throw in the stop animation connection with, again, that reference to the Justin Hawkins interview that he did, saying that he wanted to do a project like that. And so where do we think that Willis O'Brien is from? Just we think maybe he's British. No, he's not. He's from Oakland, California. So no connection there when it comes to Britain. And the next he starts mentioning J Dilla, and J Dilla being the American record producer who, as a side note, for those of you who are familiar with our channel, I've had 20 plus years of lupus, and J Dilla had lupus and died from complications of pneumonia and a cardiac arrest. But at the age of 2, his mom has been quoted as saying that J Dilla had perfect pitch, that he actually could gargle in perfect pitch. So when Ren says run the throat, get slit, Freddie cut a scissor, run the throat is you have perfect pitch. You can run the throat musically. And when the gets slit, the music industry, hip hop business industry is notoriously is cutthroat. Well, let's throw in something else. Kodak Black has a song called Cutthroat, and the Freddie cut a scissor. They're not just Freddy Krueger, which is what you would think of immediately, but Bankroll Freddie has a song called Paper Cuts. So kind of all of that, the throat gets slit, the run the throat, the Freddie cut a scissor, all of those things. There's multiple things that roll in together. And also there's an independent artist called Concrete Click, and they have a song called Empty the Clip. There's also a group called the Click 5. Their abbreviation is TC5 or TC Roman numeral 5, which is the V. I'm not sure if there's any other connection in the lyrics to that. But they're a group out of Boston, and they have a song called Empty. So on that next line, which is line 16, it's click, click, empty the clip, reload trigger. So we have the Concrete Click, and then the Click 5, they have the song Empty the Clip, and then a song called Empty. And then there's another independent artist called Trigger, who has a song called Kayak Kaiway, and that features Reload, who is a UK rapper. And by the way, in the first few lines of that song, that Charlie is mentioned. And so that's just kind of the first little section. I'm going to replay to 35 minutes, and let's see if we can kind of catch some new stuff.
So a couple of weeks ago, I got hit up by a platform that you guys might know called Fire in the Booth by Mr. Charliesloth. So it came through, it went pretty fucking well. That should be out very soon. But I thought I'd perform that for you guys tonight. Eduardo, if we can have that track, that'll be brilliant.
Eduardo.
On my search for brighter days, skies are always grey in places we come from. Yeah. Come what will, come what may, I found the strength to face the things that I run from. Yeah. It was the other day, I was back with the lads, fighting the booth, hit me up on the Instagram, open DM, it said, Ren, come and bring the gang, so we came through. Wait, this is true, Charlie hit me up, he said he want me in the booth, the only time I'm in the booth is doing Charlie in the loo. I hit the homie back and I said, how can I refuse, now it's sloth, sick boy sounded so smooth with the boom bap shit, monkey to gorilla, King Kong thud the drum like Jay Dilla, when the throat gets slit, Freddy cut scissor, click, click, empty the clip, reload trigger, boom.
All right, so now he's talking about Boom falling out of the womb, riding a broomstick broom, and clearly that's a Harry Potter reference, Harry Potter being a brilliant wizard from the time he was born, and having the broomstick of the Nimbus 2000 and then the 3000, and then eventually graduating up to the Mama Jama of broomsticks, which was the Firebolt, and doing that for the Quidditch matches. And in Quidditch you have the snitch, which is the ultimate goal, is to capture the snitch. And the double meaning there being a snitch on the street. If you're a snitch, you're going to get gripped. Because snitches get stitches. But anyway, also with that is, I think he might be talking a little bit about himself, because again, he's in that interview talking about wanting to be kind of the evil wizard, and essentially talking about that he would love to be a character who was maybe the Snape to the Harry Potter series. But not only that, but he himself has, from a young age, has been basically a musical wizard, teaching himself the different vocal and instruments, learning those things on his own. So kind of a little wizard himself. Now, if we go up to line 19, it says, ever sick boy, sicker than who? So a couple of things here. Sick boy being slang for a hardcore drug user of heroin and cocaine, and keep that in mind because that's going to come up later. But also, there's a independent artist, it's called Scenario Art. They're out of Shiga, Japan, and they have an album called Ever Sick. So again, another independent artist shout out. And then you have the Salvador Dali being mentioned in a couple of lines. Salvador Dali, Paint a Fire, and okay, so if you don't know what Salvador Dali looks like, I'd like for you to Google him right now, because the man is not exactly a big looker. You just wouldn't think that he's got a fire happening in any way in the bedroom, if you will. However, he had a literal fire in the bedroom, and they investigated this fire because he ended up getting pretty badly burned and required skin grafts. And the fire came from, he had a service bell that he used for his personal nurse, and it was in his bedroom, and apparently it had a faulty connection. There was a short circuit and it caused a fire, and he was badly injured. So when he says Salvador Dali Paint a Fire, and it's like he had a fire in the bedroom, not that kind of fire, that some people might think. But his most famous painting is called Fire, Fire, Fire. And he is a surrealist artist. And the way that he would come up with his art is he went into a state that's called, an intentional state called paranoia critical method. And he has said himself that he was not mad, that Salvador Dali says of himself that he was not mad. He did this on purpose to elicit hallucinations, so that then he could take those hallucinations, the visual and auditory, and then create art with that. And so it gave himself 1 million views, as well as a surrealist piece of art in general. You have one piece of art, you can have 1 million people view it, and they might have 1 million different takes on that one piece of art. So when he says 1 million views, I think it's literally meaning in reference to the surrealist art. And as another little side note, Salvador Dali is the most faked artist out there. Okay. Next, he goes on into Street Fighter, and this is something that I was completely unfamiliar with. So reference that he made to the Does It Move You from your knee to your shoe, well, that's your shin bone. And so using that, I was able to dig in and get what he's talking about here, because otherwise I had no idea. So the shin bone, you can then equate that in Street Fighter to Shinuchi. And Shinuchi has a few different meanings that are outside of Street Fighter. One is a Shinuchi sword is Japanese sword smithing, the best sword, highest quality. It is said to be nuclear and can split atoms. Shinuchi is also a card game, and the word shin has several different meanings. Can mean new, true, God, faith, extend. But in the Street Fighter world, Shinuchi, or no, I'm sorry, not even in the Street Fighter world, but Shinuchi in general also is a term referring to something of the highest quality. So when he actually says, it's me because it's not you, playing Who's Who blood, it's me because it's not you, he's referring, I'm certain to it, to the word Shinuchi and being of the highest, something of the highest quality. He's saying that he is the one of the highest quality. It's me, is not you. I don't know who he's talking about. I have an idea who he might be talking about because of the time frame of when he did this project, but I just think that's fun. So then he talks about Chun-Li, and the light kung fu, Chun-Li, the big sonic boom. So Chun-Li, who is in Street Fighter, and she's known for her powerful legs, she was actually designed by Akira Yasuda and modeled after Tao from Jinma Wars. Now this is important because Tao from Jinma Wars had a booming voice, and he talks about the big sonic boom. And there's also a sonic boom move that's done by Guile and Charlie. And Guile's sonic boom range is the same as Ryu's Hadouken, which he then goes into talking about shoot Hadouken like Ryu and Ken. So Hadouken is a special fight move that's used by Ryu and Ken, and the fast move creates a sonic boom. So you have several different references here to the sonic boom. You have the booming voice from Tao from Jinma Wars, who is like Chun-Li's in Street Fighter, and then the sonic boom moves. And then also you have, like, if you go to Sonic, the restaurant, you can get a combo meal because there's this combo app for you, Ken. Well, not only that, but there is a Ken's combo move guide in Street Fighter. So there's, again, a double meaning there. As well as, by the way, M.Bison has a combo guide as well. And M.Bison is, again, in Street Fighter, and apparently is the most iconic antagonist of the series. Guile, Chun-Li, and others had hopes of facing M.Bison, and personally, but he wanted to fight Ryu because he wanted to either acquire Ryu's power or recruit Ryu to work with him. And then this is a little important because the M.Bison fight Blanka Blankson. Blanka, whose birth name is Jimmy, by the way, could that be a Screech reference? James, Jimmy? Blanka is good-natured and passive and generally docile, but if you made him angry, he'd go feral. And the Blankson is just thrown in there. It's as a shout out to a London DJ. So I thought that was cool, just kind of thrown in there. And then he goes in talking about Akuma, who again is from Street Fighter, and Akuma is a hidden final boss. He's an emotionless but powerful warrior. And then you have Goken, who is Akuma's brother. And stay with me here. Akuma despises hubris, i.e. perceived excess of self-worth, and those who rely on means other than their fists to fight or gain power. So Ren is Akuma with a pen, I think is what he's suggesting, but with the force of Goken, because Goken is a very powerful fighter, and he has a one-handed Hadouken like Ryu and Ken. He has a one-hand Hadouken, and what do you use with one hand? You use a pen. So basically Ren is saying he's like Akuma, but he has the strength of Goken when he uses his pen, and I think that's a pretty powerful statement. Goken too was a more Zen fighter, and there's a couple of quotes from Goken. One is, concentrate not on destroying your foe, but on attaining your own victory. And another is, a true fighter is one who can win, not defeat. And I think those two quotes just really sum up Ren in a nutshell. Like it's basically like those are kind of his anthems, his life theme. All right, let's go back a little bit and play up to these lyrics.
King Kong's on the drum like Jay Dilla when the throat gets slit. Freddy cut a scissor, click, click, empty the clip, reload trigger, boom. I fell out of the womb riding broomstick broom, so a snitch gets gripped like the Quidditch snitch do. It was sick, boy, sicker than who? Sourdough, Dali paint a fire in it. A loose screw with a few million views. Playing Hughes who, blood it's me cause it's not you. Does it move you from the knee down to your shoe? Like Kung Fu, Chun-Li, Big Sonic Boom. A combo Abri you can shoot Hadouken like Ryu and Ken. M. Dot by Stan, Fab Blanca, Blank Stan. Akuma with the pen, force of Gukan. Is it red?
Okay, so I gotta tell you, I really enjoyed this project, and I hope that me doing this way, even though it's going to be kind of long-winded, I hope that you enjoy it as well. I gotta make sure I'm still screen recording. Okay, so next he says, is it Ren, is it Ren? And again, I feel like that's him just asking the Akuma with the pen and the force of Goken, is it Ren? Yes, it is you, Ren. And does it bang like Skeng? So Skeng is a Jamaican rapper, singer, songwriter who has a song called Gang Bang. And then he goes on to talk about, when adrenaline ends, will the men defend the ends? So just in that one line, what that makes me think of is the ends is a British term for neighborhoods, and sometimes it's considered to be a lower socioeconomic, and the men from those areas tend to end up in the military, or maybe end up the first to be in battle if you have to go into war. And what it makes me think of is the means justify the ends. So like a double play on words when it comes to the ends, the neighborhood, and then the means justifying the ends. Because if you have to fight, then you're probably going to use the men from the ends. And as a side note here, these next couple of lines: extend revenge, cleanse these souls, repent, Lord forgive my sins, hell and heaven sent. That is just chocked full of artist shout out. So let's go through this. There's a British artist, Foreign XVI, which are the Roman numerals, so Foreign 16, has a song called Revenge. And there is an extended version of Revenge. And then there's a group called Slayer, or an artist called Slayer, that has a song called Cleanse the Soul. And there's a Halocene, which is an independent American rock band, that has a song called Repent. And Zadok, the God Hop MC, who has a song called Forgive My Sins. And then Jules is an independent artist from Stuttgart, Germany, who has a song called Hell is Heaven Sent. So again, all of that, those two lines, just absolute artist shout out. Now, the independent group Halocene, if you change the spelling from H-A-L-O to H-O-L-O-C-E-N-E, then you get what is the next line in his lyrics, where it says, world, top of the world wide web earth. The Halocene is our current geographical epoch, and this just screams Ren to me. Like, just him showing off how smart he is. So a geographical epoch is measured by determining the age of rocks, also called geochronology, and Holocene is the current geographical epoch that we're in, and it's known as the age of man. And this correlates with the rapid proliferation, growth, and impacts of humans worldwide, which we know he's very environmentally conscious, if you will. And during the Halocene, there has been the most dramatic changes based on climate and sea level, extinctions during this time related to unsustainable use of land, water, and energy use, and climate change. So all of that just based off of him using an independent group named Halocene and then changing it over to Holocene in the next line. I mean, give me a break, Ren, you're killing me. Okay, so then the next line with the over the top, I drop it, rockin', and I think of several things here. Snoop Dogg with the drop it like it's hot. You can drop the top on the convertible, with the being again like the top of the world wide web. And then he says dropping hot since birth. So since birth, again, Ren is musically inclined from a very young age. He's also, since birth of humankind, we are heading to our own destruction according to the epoch geological's geological standards. And then the next line, this guy, he says, murder a verse, verb in a hearse, interpret the letter, decipher the words. Dude, I'm trying, like, I'm really trying. You're working my brain over here. So I have murder a verse, verb in a hearse. So the verb in that is murder. So are we putting murder in a hearse? Like, are we just putting it into murder and we're going to bury it and it's going away? Is that what we're doing? I really don't know. Anybody have any other ideas here? Please let me know, because I'm not sure. Let's go back just a skosh and start back.
Chun-Li, big sonic boom, a combo every you can shoot Hadouken like Ryu and Ken. M. by stand, Fab Blanca blank stand, Akuma with the pen, force of Gukan. Is it red? Is it red? Does it bang like scan? When adrenaline ends, will the men defend the ends? Extend revenge, cleanse the soul, repent. Lord, forgive my sin. Hell and heaven sent world, top of the world, wide wide world. Over the top, I drop, I rockin', boppin', dropping hot since birth. When the reverse, flipping the hearse, it's the never, just having the worst. Fuck doing double time shit. Let me spit. It's
okay. So now, again, we're kind of moving into another. I'm trying to break this down where it makes a little bit of sense. So I'm sorry if it's too much for you guys. But now we're getting into where he breaks down into there's a group of 8, and there's a group of 5, and there's a group of 10. So now we're going to go into that. So he goes into saying it's the tale of the amazing spider wren, which clearly a spider has 8 legs. And I'm an 8-bar, 8-arm octagon. So there's actually a bar in London called Bar 8, and it's at 8 Hanger Green in London. And I'm hoping that he's meaning to shout that out, because I caught that if that's the case, and I'd be excited to know if I was right. And also in that he talks about I ate like an ape. Well, so considering his health stuff and his MCAS, Ren had a fairly restrictive diet, and apes have a fairly restrictive diet. So I think he puts that in there just as a play on words. And then he mentions the anonymity no, which is not a first time that he's mentioned that, but you know, he's not fully mainstream yet. We're getting more well known, and so therefore he's losing his anonymity. And when you hit line number 43 and it says affinity for masculinity, there was an interview with Zach saying that he did an end of October of, I think, 2023. And he had mentioned in that interview with Zach that he wanted to take him and his boys and go to Vegas and experience everything Vegas. Well, there is a exhibition of poetry in Las Vegas, and one of the poems in there is called Affinity for Masculinity, and it's written by Harry R. Fagel. And you should Google that and read that. It's a great piece of work. It's really fascinating, and I feel like it's worth getting a little bit of love. So check that out, Affinity for Masculinity, from the Exhibition of Poetry in Las Vegas by Harry Fagel. And then Stallone, he mentions Sylvester Stallone, but the spelling is wrong. Sylvester Stallone, the actor, it says Stallone. And unless this was a typo by Genius.com, but I feel like it might be intentional, because there actually is a Stallone who is an independent artist. Her real name is Christina Leanne Gallo. She did some work with Kanye on his Donda projects, and some of the stuff that she did didn't end up ultimately on the Donda project, but I don't know if that's a purposeful thing or if that's accidental, but I thought it was interesting because Stallone, with that spelling, is an independent artist. And when he mentions smoke a half ounce of Rocky, flip okay, it's KO. Let me tell you something. Rocky, yes, this is Sylvester Stallone, the movie, but Rocky is also crack cocaine. If you smoke a half ounce of crack cocaine, yeah, the okay is gonna flip, and you're gonna be knocked the F out. Also, the word to flip means to sell, but also add in there, I noticed that if you flip one half, it becomes 2 in 1. And so 2 in 1 being like a heroin and Valium in one hit. Is that a Kurt Cobain reference there? Is that kind of a subtle thing? Because it's right in that same area where he mentions Kurt Cobain. Then he says, if you know, you know, which happens to be a song by Pusha T. And Pusha T also has a song called Drug Dealer Anonymous. And there's a song, White Lines, that was in Cocaine Bear Remix by Pusha T. And then you throw in Justin Timberlake, who has a song TKO, which features Pusha T. So all of that stuff is all in like one line. And then a soldier flow means you have an aggressive rap delivery style. Now after that we get into the 0.5s or the halves and the 5s and 10s in this next section. So he says that's a 0.50, that's a sniper scope. Take the sniper scope pointed at 50. So a 0.50 being a 50 cal gun. And a 50 cal gun is not going to be used for shooting at people. It's a big gun. That's used for doing structural damage. It's used for disabling vehicles. So when he says pointed at 50, I feel like he's talking about 50 yards, because a 50 cal is going to be used for 50 to 300 yards distance. And I'm going to go with that rather than him meaning pointing it at a cop. I'm just going to go with that interpretation. That's my personal preference. Then we get into the talking about the body decays like it's an isotope. So with a 10-year half-life, you decay. So a 10 years being a decade, and you decayed. So they've got a double with the 10 years, decaying and decade. In 10-year half-life is 5 years. In 10 years time, you're half your weight. In 10 years chance, you have half a brain. So all of that 10 to 5 and 10 to half. And that is in a sequence of 5 times he does that. And then he says, let me speed that up. Let me Kurt Cobain. And man, I wish I would have looked up what speed of a speedball. I'm not good on drug slang off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. But I don't know if there's, if that's a heroin, Valium, morphine thing. But anyway, tragically, Kurt Cobain did die from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and in his system at the time of his death, he had heroin, Valium, and morphine in his system. So let's go back and again kind of play from here.
Stop doing double time shit, let me spit. It's the tale of the amazing Spider brand. I'm an 8-bar, 8-arm octagon, smoking eighth with my mate when it's 8 p.m. Yeah, I ate like an ape, I'm an alien. Flip the 8 on this side like Infinity Stone. I'm finna be the baddest rapper anonymity, no affinity for masculinity, still best as alone. Smoke a half ounce of Rocky, flip okay, it's KO. If you know, you know, I got soldier flow. That's a .50, that's a sniper scope. Take the sniper scope, point it at 50. When the body decays like it's an isotope. With a 10-year half-life, you decay. So in 10 years time, you'll be half your weight. That's a 10-year chance, you'll have half a brain. Let me speed that up, let me Kurt Cobain.
So again, whenever we do the flip it, and you have you flip the 1/2 into 2 and 1, and again, I feel like that we're relating that back to the 2 drugs in 1 hit and the Kurt Cobain thing. Anyway, on this next part, he starts this out with a yeah, and the way he does it, it hit me at one point in time, and looking at the lyrics and then listening to it, that it had a bit of a ... dash or dash whatever that it is, like SOS, and because he did the cover of SOS, and so I'm wondering if he's throwing in on purpose this pattern of the yeah in a Morse code. Could that be possible? Could he have implanted Morse code in his lyrics? I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me. All right. So moving on, he goes into the next verse, and we're talking about swinging Warhammer. And I get that there's some Dungeons and Dragons, there's Lord of the Rings, maybe there's some Marvel, all mixed in together here in these next few lines. But when you swing Warhammer, that's a Dungeons and Dragons thing. But Thor's hammer is called Mjolnir, and everybody knows that the only people that can swing Thor's hammer is Thor, Captain America, and Vision. Well, and of course, his dad. Oh no, I can't think of what his dad's name is. Anyway, so it says swing Warhammer like I'm Thor or Banner. Well, Banner can't swing Thor's hammer. So does that mean Banner like a flag? That's what I thought of. That's what it made me think of. So are we talking about Warhammer the flag? and swinging it, and because then that would go into the being a Mordor handyman, which Mordor back in Old English, it means murder. And so he's a murder handyman. He's bagging them up and tagging them. I mean, let me tell you something, because he's killing me with these lyrics, that's for sure. And then he goes on to the next line, which is the rearrange a man's face, fuck's sake, anagram. And all that I got from rearranging a man's face, and fuck's sake, all I got from that was fans came. Now, I know that that's not right, so I need you guys to comment and tell me what you came up with getting those letters mixed around, because he even says, put it back together like a game of Scrabble. He did this Sick Boy live, and fans came to this, and he had just a small number. But again, I feel like I'm missing something here, and I can't figure it out. So I need some help here from you guys. And then we go on. Now it's drug dealing time, apparently. So we have the nothing outside, everything underhand, under the table. So we're passing drugs under the table. We're doing them on the inside. We're not doing them outside in the open. And we're using it underhand style to hide what's in our hand. And there's no label. However, with that no label, he's an independent artist, so he doesn't have a label. But then we go into the story of Babel, which is a Bible story of the city of Babel, Genesis 11. And what this is talking about is, he says, fable of Babel, it confuses my gang, so ambitious was that part of God's plan. I am, yeah, I am, yeah, I am. All of that refers to Genesis 11. That's where the story where humans wanted to reach the heavens. So they built the city of Babel, and they built a tower that was trying to reach the heavens to get to God. And God wasn't okay with that. So he actually struck that down, and all of the people that lived in Babel then were spread across the land, and where they used to have one individual language, then they had multiple languages came out of that. So that's where the confuses my gang, I feel like, comes in. Because they used to all speak the same language, and now all of a sudden they're speaking different languages and they can't understand each other. And was it part of God's plan? Yeah, it was, because God is telling you, you can't reach me by building a tower up to the heavens. It's not how it works. And then I think that when he repeats the line, I am, yeah, I am, there 3 times, I'm wondering if that's in reference to God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost. Because he's a little under the table as far as where he is with religion, but he does sometimes make quite religious statements, and I'm wondering if that's one of them. And then we go on into Attack on the Titan, which is an anime, and Levi Ackerman, who is Captain Levi, who won Attack on the Titan. And there's the Biting Titan, or the Jaw Titan. It's a tool that's used to chew through armor. Just as a side note, the Biting Titan can be used to bite through the crystal shell of Warhammer, the Dungeons and Dragons Warhammer. And then he mentions Batman down when Bruce met Superman, and in that, again, Superman won that. And I'm just trying to put together here how those things go together, where Levi Ackerman and Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent, how those things might meld, and I'm just not getting there. Again, I'm just not figuring that out. Then we go into this fun part where he mentions a bunch of bars. So he starts out and says, geez, man got steez, and steez means style and ease. And then he says, man got bars, and the bars make cheese. So bars being musical bars, so you have the typical pattern of 8, 16, 32 bars that you put together to make money in the music industry. And as a side note, GBL, which I'm going to mention in a minute here, can be found in cheese. So hold on to that little nugget. And then he says, man gets fees for a feature, please. I mean, is that just him putting out in the world, putting out into the universe that he wants to get paid for doing a feature film? Is that what that is? Then he talks about the man spreads bars like they're STDs. I can't help but think that this is in reference to one person in one situation, and the fact that some people will sell their product to anyone, and sometimes that product may be infected with someone else's work that was not authorized, meaning the Sick Boy beat situation. And then the man makes peas, as in a small amount of money, or frozen greens, as in big stacks of money, big Benjamins you put on ice. And bars like field of sheep. So you make your bars, and then those bars can get picked off by the wolves. Again, wondering if that might be a bit of a reference to a certain situation. And there's more bars than Ibiza streets. And for those of you who are not familiar, Ibiza is an island in the Mediterranean Sea, and it is notorious for partying. It's notorious for drugs. The bars is a slang term for Xanax there, and there are bars galore. And man's bars sweet like Cadbury's, is that meaning like it's sweet, awesome as in good? Or are we comparing Cadbury's, are we comparing drugs to candy? Like the bars Xanax being sold like candy, or ecstasy or MDMA being sold like candy. And then when he says G's at the beginning and at the end of that little section when he's talking about bars, this is where I think there's an extra meaning in there. And G's, the letter G, is another reference to a drug. There's GHB, GBL, liquid G, and again the reference to the bars make cheese. Again, the GHB can be found naturally in cheese, but it's a popular party drug. I think it's one of the things is the date rape drug. Anyway, you can get high in small doses, and so I just feel like that G's that he has in there is intentional. The next line they says fresh life, that he just says 3 times. So one of 2 things on that is it's like playing a video game where you're able to refresh your lives and keep playing, or is this where he's getting treatment and the treatment is successful and he is feeling like he's got a bit of a fresh life? Like right now, he's just finished the treatments in Mexico, and it seems like that it went pretty well. And they gave him some IVIG, and I can't remember if I talked about this in this video already or not. Sorry if I did, but which is something that is an infusion that he can get once a month, and you can continue that. And it's actually a fairly relatively new revelation to the medical world that IVIG treatments can be beneficial for people who have MCAS. And again, I think I mentioned at the beginning of this that my having been a doctor for my profession until I had to leave my practice due to lupus. So I kind of understand the medical side of that, but this is new. It's newer. And so I'm so thrilled that he was able to go to Mexico and stumble upon this IVIG therapy, because from what he has said in his posts, it seems like that this has been a good thing for him. And so, yeah, he should be able to continue doing that monthly, and that hopefully will help him a lot. But then the next line where he says, flesh on cold ice, assess and throw dice. I mean, is he talking about certain drugs where you roll the dice and take a chance of if this is going to kill you or not? And my suggestion is just don't. Just say no, because you don't want to take something that you think is going to be, for fun or whatever, and then it ends up putting you on ice. The next line is fun for me because, again, I like trying to figure things out and sorting out puzzles. And so is he referring to, when he says the chamber's jeweled lead, is he referring to like a chamber of jewels or a buried treasure that maybe it's booby trapped? He says one move and you're dead because it's booby trapped. So it's Curse of Oak Island is what I'm trying to think of. Chris and I have been watching Curse of Oak Island, and it's now in its, I don't know, 422nd season or something, and they're looking for this buried treasure. And that's what it makes me think of. It makes me think of the chambered jeweled lead. It's a buried treasure, and it's booby trap. And then he says, grip, grip, then it's click and I clack it. Just so you know, click and clack is in reference to rolling dice in craps. So if you grip, you take 2 dice, you click and you clack them and you throw them. They're rolling dice for craps. And then he says, can you swim, mate? Is your body aquatic? I was trying to figure out what he's talking about here, and I just wonder, what are the chances that when him and his buddies went to Vegas that they maybe were in a pool and played craps in a pool? I'm stretching, I know. All right. And then he goes on to mention the keep it Anne Frank with a shank in the attic. Well, everybody knows that Anne Frank's shank was her pencil, because she, in Anne Frank's diary, she didn't actually, I don't know that she actually had a shank, like a, you know, prison shank. I think he's talking about her writing utensil. And so she actually was in hiding in Amsterdam. And Amsterdam is known for its waterways. And so going back to this buried treasure and the is your body aquatic and all of that, like, is he talking about, oh, and then his man gets spanked with a flashbang, bang it, so a flashbang being a grenade, like a smoke bomb, which leaves the victims blind and deaf temporarily. But like, is that whole section talking about a big heist, maybe? Was there something in Amsterdam that happened where they stole a safe, like in the Italian Job or something, and stole a bunch of gold? I don't know. If anybody has figured that out, let me know. But otherwise, I'm thinking Uncharted, like either the movie or the video game Uncharted. Like, I'm not sure what he's referring to there. All right, so let's start back here and get caught up.
Yeah. Warhammer like I'm Thor or Banner, I'm a Mordor Handyman, body bag and tag a man, rearrange a man's face, fuck say anagram, put it back together like a game of Scrabble and nothing, outside everything underhand, underneath the table no label, that's contraband, Babel of Babel, it confuses my gang, so ambitious, was that part of God's plan? I am, frightening like Attack on the Titan, fighting Titan, Levi Ackerman, Batman down when Bruce met Superman, jeez, man got steez, man got bars and the bars make cheese, man gets fees for a feature please, man spends bars at the STDs, man makes peas, frozen greens, man's bar like a field of sheep, got more bars than Ibiza Street, man's bar sweeter than Cadbury's, jeez. Fresh life, flesh on cold ice, cess and throw dice, this rest like Preston Smith West, side of your head, chamber jewel lead, one move and you're dead, grip, then it's click and I clack it, can it swim mate, is your body aquatic, keep it Anne Frank with a shank in the attic, man gets spanked with a flashbang banging, orangutan.
Alright, so now we're going on to the orangutan, the manga fan. So this, again, is another big reference to the things that kept him entertained while he was going through his illness. So the first thing is there's a book called Manga the Orangutan. That's number one. And then a manga fan, I think he's just saying he's a manga fan. And a manic, meaning is he's saying that he's calling himself a manic, where he's just going from subject to subject and he's just like all over the place. But the other thing with that is that their manga means an irresponsible drawing or whimsical illustration, which, by the way, to mean two totally different things, like opposite. But there's a Manga Mania universe book of drawing. So I wonder, you know, that first line is a manga fan, a manic, the Manga Mania. Anyway, but then he goes on and he starts talking about Akira, which is a 1988 Japanese cyberpunk film which opened the floodgates for anime. And it was actually the first anime that was in the United Kingdom. It is cited as being a masterpiece. So when he says break molds, I think he's referring to that. It's a masterpiece. Katsuhiro is the creator and director of Akira. Akira was basically a product of government experiments. He absorbed the demon Amon's powers and ultimately caused a massive psychic explosion of Tokyo. And then when he says to come to reload, the future looks cold. So there was Akira's, the first psychic explosion, then Neo Tokyo after that, and Tetsuo then came after that, who was Akira's childhood friend and later also ended up being taken to a government and military facility and ended up being Akira's antagonist. But Tetsuo gained psychic powers and began looking for Akira, who had already been dissected, studied, and then cryogenically maintained in a containment unit. And so then when it says come Kayoko was a member of a group of psychic children that, again, the government cared for. She had predictions of the Neo Tokyo event, and after Akira's psychic explosion of Tokyo, she was put on prolonged isolation. She was given drugs routinely to try to prevent her from psychic abilities from getting as developed as Akira's did. All of this resulted in her having premature aging. She had physical handicaps. Ultimately, was permanently bedridden and kept alive by life support machines. which again, all of this is like, does Ren relate to her because of his whole situation, the health situation, and basically being bedridden? And she, by the way, as a side note, she escaped captivity to find Tetsuo, and Akira comes back to help to save Tokyo from the mutated Tetsuo, just kind of as a side note. The future looks cold. I'm wondering if that's a reference to the cold sleep, which is in the next line, which is the caliber, the soul caliber. And you can calibrate in soul caliber. It's called a soul caliber roll, and that what you do is you can calibrate, do a roll, and that which allows you then to get up and keep fighting, and to get up faster and to survive during a fight. And then also the Yoshimitsu, which is a Tekken games and Soul Calibur game series. The whole strike when the iron is hot, the iron is cold. So Yoshimitsu wields a possessed sword, ended up with a robotic arm, entered the Iron Fist tournament, freed a developer of the Perpetual Engine, and funded his cold sleep research that was being developed to preserve his daughter who had died. So all of that just in these 2 or 3 lines is very word heavy, or very word light, but meaning heavy in meaning. And then, so let's go on to the iron is hot. I connect the dots, disconnect your spine, reconnect. Dots is a program that you can use for making your own animation. Again, referring back to the project that he's wanting to do. And when you say disconnect your spine, reconnect, that's what you do in making an animation. You basically have the dots. It makes a spine, and you can disconnect it and move things here and there, move parts and pieces, and reconnect it. And the Duplo, Lego, connects, I break up. I'm sure he grew up using all of those things, and now he's using a dots program to make his own animation film. Am I right, Ren? Am I right? I don't know. Like, and then Attack the Block is a British movie that's about aliens and a weed room, essentially. And they turn on a gas oven and blow up the block. But in that, there's the hot rock that can refer to a stolen ring in the movie, but then also a hot rock blem. A blem is a gun that has been identified, and so he passes it off to his right-hand man, whichever direction that is. It's like, here, this is a gun that's been identified. I'm going to hand this off to you, my right-hand man. Good luck with that. All right, let's go back and get caught up again here on the lyrics. Let's go.
You led one move and you're dead, grip, then it's click and I clack it. Can it swim, mate? Is your body aquatic? Keep it and frank with a shank in the attic. Man gets spanked with a flashbang banging. Orangutan, I'm bang a fan, I'm manic. Kiro, catch a hero up the planet. Text to Washima, come Kyoko, come to reload. Futures look cold, break modes. Calibrate soul caliber roll. You're to miss you strike, iron is cold. Iron is hot, I connect the dots. Disconnect your spine, reconnect. Duplo, Lego, connects, I break. Attack the block, a toxic shockwave. We block drops like a hot rock blam. Pass to the left to your right hand man, like
pass to the left to your right hand man. Okay, so then he goes in to talk about headshot, faded, which are terms for when you're drunk and high from marijuana, and he talks about purple haze, which is LSD, or being in a haze, or a haze is a high potency weed. Then we move into the fun stuff. He talks about condom, large size, so that makes me think of the Magnum or a Trojan. And then we relate that to the Five Guys statement. And so here's what I trying to come up with for all of those lyrics, meaning, or getting the double meaning in there. Because we know he doesn't mean what he says it's meaning. It means something else. So let's figure it out. So Magnum is there's a Magnum Call of Duty, which is a 5-player team, so 5 guys. Or the Trojan Wars, which is parallel to like the Game of Thrones, and the 5 guys in Game of Thrones are Arya, Bran, Jon, Tyrion, and Daenerys. Those are considered the 5 guys. And also in Game of Thrones, there's the Fingers, and there's the Veil of Aaron, and also called the 5 Fingers. So I'm not sure if I'm on the right track there, but I just know that he means something else in there, and I'd love to know if you guys agree or if you have something else that you've come up with. When he goes on to talk about hands make money when I need the bread, so clearly he's talking about using his writing and lyrics, and he'll write lyrics, make music when he needs to make some money, because he's an independent artist and he has that luxury. He works when he wants to work, or works when he can work, when his health will allow. And then he talks about when man gets hungry and I feed him lead. When us fans are yearning for some of his work, then he writes for us, writing with a lead pencil. So the get hungry, so he uses his pencil to feed his fans. Now the next series, the next line, I guess, basically, get a 3.5 on the cred. I gotta tell you, I feel like there's several things that could mean. It could be a 3.5 GPA from school, maybe, probably not. How about a 3.5 million line of credit, maybe for some type of a project that he's wanting to do, maybe. 3.5 grams of weed, I don't know. How about a 9mm handgun with a 3.5-inch barrel? I don't know. It could be any of those things. Red Dead Redemption. That's a critically acclaimed action-adventure game that is a free roam interactive format where you have shootouts and robberies. Sounds like it would be fun to play, actually. But he mentions that, then he goes on to say, I fled the mentions. So I'm not really sure where the Red Dead Redemption and the I fled the mentions, then going into what I feel like is the whole Sick Boy reference and the Cujo beatdown. Because when he fled the mentions, as he noted in the video that he did for why Sick Boy was taken down, he mentions he had a conversation with Cujo's girlfriend over Sick Boy, and he ended up deleting that. I think it was an Instagram conversation. He ended up deleting that when he realized that it was his girlfriend. And when you say you bleed for vengeance, that term is specific for when you lose something that is meaningful to you, that is deeply meaningful to you, and you look for revenge over that loss. So when he says, my head was tense and I bled for vengeance, but introspection brought new direction, a reconception of rhyme selection. I just feel like that he's just saying, I was so mad over the loss of Sick Boy that I wanted revenge for that. But then I got to thinking about it and I thought, you know what, we're going to go another direction. We're going to take this another way. And that's basically what he said in his video about the Sick Boy situation. So he made the new project, which I'm going to do a reaction to shortly for that. I think Chris and I might do that together. But anyway, so because again, Sick Boy was his baby, and he basically lost Sick Boy tragically, which would make you want to seek vengeance. And when he says the flick of cigarette already lit up the next one, it could just be that he's going from one project to the next, and he's like chain smoking. He's like going one thing to the other, then one project to the next project to the next project. And I'm not really sure what the glide slide and that next one is in reference to. Maybe it's meaning the My Hero Academia. That's the only thing I could really find. And there's a Vigilantes manga. And maybe he's using a little vigilante justice on the whole Sick Boy situation. But the slide and glide is actually a move in that My Hero Academia, where it's an attractive and repulsive force that you use. It's kind of like if you think about Iron Man, how he takes flight. There's a move called a thing called the quirk, and you can only have one quirk per user. So if he's talking about taking flight, the next line it says, will he come harder, will he come faster? That could also apply to the slide and glide feature for learning to fly. I don't know. This is probably way out there. The next line, where is the one how they wonder, can simply the one how they wonder how he flows so dumb, slow down words. First of all, when I saw slow down words, I thought, oh, that's a palindrome, and then it wasn't a palindrome, and I was really disappointed. Not really sure what we're going for here. But when they say one how they wonder, can just mean that someone is sitting in wonder of something. And how he flows so dumb is in a reference to when you rap and you go crazy, you lose control. And then he goes on to the will he come harder, will he come faster? And from the valleys, he says, come from the valleys where we all go harder. From the valleys is a reference, again, it's kind of like the ends. It's a lower socioeconomic class. We go harder because you have to go harder, because you have to work harder to get out of that situation, maybe is what that's meaning. And then on the pull the shank Arthur, the shank again, that's, I feel like, a reference to a pen or a pencil, but also clearly Arthur being King Arthur and the Excalibur sword coming out of the stone. But in this instance, there's an Arthur Parker, and Parker is also a brand of a pen, but there's an Arthur Parker who is a Scottish, English, American historian, museologist, and I just found that a little fascinating that there happened to be an Arthur Parker, which is exactly what he mentions in his lyrics and talking about the shank or the pen. And then the Tony Stark smart, I mean, that seems pretty self-explanatory, right? The Iron Heart, he's Iron Man. And then the artery, dastardly smarter than Harvard degrees. Tony Stark is smart. But I would like to point out, this is something new to me, that Harvard actually has a hip-hop bibliography. They have a department called the Archive and Research Institute, and Harvard put together a hip-hop bibliography. And so then he goes into this E meet MC squared, and that actually could be the E meet MC squared, as in the equation equating that to Harvard, but also that's a song by Jay Dilla. Did y'all know that Jay Dilla had a song called E equals MC squared? Again, kind of a little double play there. Now on this next part where he says, wanna follow me, never wanna be, honor me, I'm a monastery, I feel like he's poking fun a little bit about the fact that not everybody, that people talk about that the Renegades are a cult, basically, and he's a monastery, meaning it's a building or a house for people under religious vows. I think he's just poking fun at the fact that his fans are talked about being a cult. It's a book club. Come on. But he's a prodigy of biology, and a prodigy of biology is someone who's exceptionally gifted or talented, like he is. Also someone like Aristotle or Charles Darwin. And Prodigy, who is an American rapper, collabed with The Alchemist, and I feel like that's interesting to throw in there, just because an alchemist is a person who transforms something through a seemingly magical process. So you've got the Prodigy of biology, Prodigy the rapper, collaborating with an alchemist, and you have the alchemy again being like a magical thing. And I think that's just, again, I feel like that sums up Ren in a nutshell. And then on the last couple of lines there, where he, first of all, he goes through the shout out of the hip hop artist that kind of made him who he is, and the diet that he grew up on. But then he goes to chop it up and mop it up. The cadences are crazy. So chopping it up is meaning you chop it up, you talk about it. You mop it up, you finish it up, you clean it, you finish it off, you clean it up. And then the cadences are crazy, kind of self-explanatory. And then knocking up a Molotov, the big boom baby. You know, to me, a Molotov is what you use, for instance, if you're an anarchist. Okay, let's say. It's a crude bomb that's meant to burn the system down. And again, I feel like that's kind of Ren's thing. He's about, the system is broken and we need to fix it. And I kind of touch on that in one of my long-winded videos from a couple of weeks ago. But like, it's true. I mean, there's a system that's broken and we need to just kind of start over with it. Start from ground zero. And then the next couple of lines, the bang, 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 bangers on the daily. So there's actually a song by the self-produced K-pop boy band from South Korea that's called Bang, Bang, Bang. And then my other thought is the bangers on the daily. So, you know, you could be bangers as in a song, but could that mean also, are we eating sausages daily? You know, because bangers are sausages in Britain. Yeah, I'm an American chick. What do I know? And then going on to the last few lines where he's got the will it come harder, will it come faster again, but then he's smoking on a spliff, which is a marijuana cigarette. What does he say? Because I'm getting pretty bored now. Where does that? Yeah, I'm gonna leave you with this because I'm getting pretty bored now. Aren't you just cute? Aren't you just really funny? I mean, we've spent days going through these lyrics and you're just bored. You're just too much. You're too much. All right, so let's get back to this last little bit of the song and then we'll finish it up.
We rock drops like a hot rock blam. Pass to the left to your right hand, men like headshot, faded. I strip your bitch naked. Sick boys, wasted. Rizzler, purple Haitian. Condom, large size. Finger your muffin, 5 guys. Calm down, play nice. Don't you pussy, sit right there in the crosshair. Die in the cross like a Jesus. There, with a hole in his head. Hands make money when I need the bread. Man gets hungry so I feed him blood. Can I get a 3.5 under? Red Dead Redemption, I fled dimensions. My head was tense and I bled for vengeance. But introspection brought new direction. A reconception of rhyme selection. Flick a cigarette already lit up the next one. Drive by guys like I'm that next one. One how they wonder how he flows so dumb. Slow down words. Really come harder, really come faster. Just the Welsh boy sipping on a can of lager. Come from the Celtic, knights in armor. Come from the valleys where we all go. Pull the shank part, the thunderstone sharper. Parker pen master, Tony Stark smart. Iron heart artery, dastardly smarter than Harvard degree. See me, MC squared. Wanna follow me, wanna be, never wanna be. Honor me, I'm my monetary prodigy, your biology, baby. Raised on a diet full of weird and shady. Dizzy and some Wizzy and some Pack and some Jay-Z. 50 and some Missy and some K-Dot tasty. Don't forget the plan B, that's what made me. Chop it up and up it up like kings. It's a crazy knocking off a mullet of the big room, baby. Bang, bang, bang. Bangers on a daily. Fuck all that singing shit. Really come hard, really come fast. Just a Welsh boy sipping on a can of lager. Come from the Celtic, knights in armor. Come from the valleys where we all go hard. Looking on this cliff, singing, come around pit. Leave you with this, cause I'm getting pretty bored now. I live just to feel the music hit. I give it as a gift, it was mine, it's yours. Smoking on this cliff, singing, come around pit. Leave you with this, cause I'm getting pretty bored now. I live just to feel the music hit. I give it as a gift, it was mine, it is yours now. Hey. Bring it back. Bye. Come on.
All right, awesome. And by the way, I need to throw in there that I'm gonna butcher it. Camurambith, this means Wells forever. I'm so sorry, I know I butchered that, but I think it's important to say that means Wells forever. All right, guys, so here's the deal. I said from the beginning that I was going to be the judge, the jury, the sentencer, the executioner, and all of that with this project. And let me tell you something. This whole thing, he killed it. He killed us. He is definitely guilty of murder. I sentence him to the chair. He can have whatever chair he wants that to be. If he wants that to be the Iron Throne, if he wants to be King Charles's throne, I don't care. He gets whatever throne he wants because he's the king of everything. So, good job, Ren. Absolutely love it. Just so much love it. Please go to the Sick Boy live on his Ren Makes Music YouTube and watch that 45-minute. He needs more views on that. It needs more love. Please go find that. And guys, thank you so much for putting up with me for this long. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed this project. And as always, have a great day, smile, and make somebody else's day a little bit brighter just for having been around you. Have a great one. Love you guys.